Mojawapo ya ahadi kochokocho kwenye kampeni zake za kuwinda kiti cha urais mwaka 2002 na kubandua chama cha KANU kilichokuwa kimeganda madarakani miaka 39, muungano wa upinzani NARC ulitoa ahadi ya kuzindua katiba mpya katika siku zake 100 za kwanza mamlakani. Lakini hayo yakasalia hekaya za abunwasi. Punde tu baada ya Rais Mwai Kibaki kushika hatamu za uongozi, siasa za kucheza shere zilianza.
Kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu.
Kongamano la kitaifa kufanyia katiba marekebisho ukumbi wa Bomas kuanzia mwaka 2003 liligeuzwa kuwa vikao vya malumbano ya kisiasa. Mgawanyiko ukaibuka. Siasa za kukabana koo zikashamiri. Kusambaratishwa kwa vikao ikawa ni kawaida, haswa mrengo wa serikali ulipoonekana kuzidiwa nguvu na upande wa Raila Odinga na mashirika ya umma. Kwa kuwa fahali wawili wakimenyana, nyasi ndio huumia. Aliyejipata pabaya alikuwa mhadhiri wa chuo kikuu cha Nairobi, Dkt Crispin Odhiambo Mbai, aliyekuwa amechaguliwa bila kupingwa kuwa mwenyekiti wa kamati kuhusu ugatuzi. Masikitiko ni kuwa ndiye aliyelipia gharama chungu na kuwa kafara wa ugatuzi.
Odhiambo Mbai was the architect of the devolution. I myself was very passionate about devolution, but Mbai had understood it much better than anybody else. He spoke that day in Bomas, Kenya, and he spoke for nearly 10 minutes without break. And by the time he finished, the whole hall backed into cheers, and they all cheered Mbai and said that that gentleman should be the chairman of the devolution committee.
Wakati wa kongamano la ugatuzi mwaka 2025, sadfa likifanyika mjini Homa Bay karibu na nyumbani kwake Odhiambo Mbai, Raila Odinga alianza hotuba yake kwa kusimulia tanzia ya Mbai iliyotajwa kuwa mauaji ya kisiasa.
And as the chair of the devolution committee, he navigated very dangerous corners, because as you know, I've been mentioning several times that devolution had then and even today very powerful enemies. He was able to create proper benchmarks to be met, and because of that he became a marksperson.
Jumapili tarehe 14 Septemba mwaka 2003 alasiri, wauaji wake walivamia nyumba yake mtaani Woodley, Nairobi, na kumiminia risasi kadhaa. Alikata roho katika hospitali ya Nairobi alikokuwa amekimbizwa.
Of course this is an assassination. Call it assassination in capital letters and don't play around. No playing around with words. The word is assassination.
Mbai's assassination, which turns out was an attempt to prevent a political transition or a change of political system that would therefore disadvantage, in quotes, certain people who are in government.
Mbai would not see the new constitution. In broad daylight, in front of his children, they moved in to his house and shot him and fatally wounded him.
Why would somebody holding such a position in a big conference be killed? Because ultimately, the decision on what would be carried into the constitution was a collective affair. But it looked like he was crucial, an expert, and that's why he had been put in that critical position as chair of that devolution.
There are a lot of things that used to happen there, because sometimes I would see my husband coming home so unhappy. He would say that they would go, they would pass things, another people would go to another Kamkuji, and the following day they are backwards. Because to be the truth, they said most of these people didn't want power to be devolved anyway.
So that was deliberate, premeditated, planned, executed. There was no accident. Because why didn't they go to the next house and what else? So it became clear this was assassination, and there was a motive behind it to scuttle the devolution deliberations at Bomas.
Aliyekuwa mbunge wa Kamkunji Norman Munene Gathakari King'ang'i Nyaga na pia kiranja wa serikali bungeni alikuwa mmojawapo ya jirani wa karibu wa Mbai. Alikuwa miongoni mwa watu walioshukiwa kuhusiana na mauaji yake.
What do you know about the killing of Crispin Odhiambo Mbai?
The biggest crime that I did was to actually enter Crispin Mbai's home after the shooting, after a distress call by his daughter, and taking him to the hospital. That is my linkage.
First, I had a sound. I had some sounds. It was like screaming or wailing, but I didn't really think about it so much because I thought maybe it's one of my brothers who had come in and they were playing or something.
Catherine Atieno ndiye jamaa wa Mbai pekee aliyekuwa ndani ya nyumba majangili walipovamia na kumnyeshea risasi.
I started hearing banging, and then so I came to our corridor upstairs. So as I was in the corridor, I smelled the smell of, that smell of gunpowder, because I knew the smell, so I knew there was something wrong. So I came slowly down. So as I came down, the chair here was overturned, and I couldn't find my dad. So because I knew when I left him, he was sitting there. So I couldn't find my dad, and I was looking for him. And I found him behind the chair. And okay, at first he was gargling, and there was blood all over. So I started screaming. I was in shock, and I just started screaming. And then I was trying to think what to do. So I ran out of the house, and I went right in the middle, and I started screaming. I was screaming, trying to tell them, my dad has been shot. And the funny thing is, there was no one at all in the compound. So I ran back because I saw that wasn't really helping. So I ran back upstairs, and I picked up a phone. I was trying to call, but I didn't know who to call. So I was just dialing numbers, and I went to the balcony. I opened the door. I looked for the key actually, and I opened the door and I started screaming. So I was screaming, my dad has been shot. And Nyaga is the one who came out first.
Baada ya kurejea kutoka kanisani, mkewe Mbai Bi Margaret alikimbia hadi mtaa wa Kayole kujionea shughuli zilizokuwa zinaendelea katika mradi wao. Lakini hakukawia, kwani alihitajika kurudi nyumbani halahala kumhudumia mumewe aliyekuwa hajihisi vyema.
But when I came back, I met Honorable Nyaga. He's the one who received me, and he told me my husband had collapsed. And because he was not feeling well, he said at home, I thought, could be it got out of hand. So I came back. He drove us to Nairobi Hospital, myself and my sister. We went to Nairobi Hospital. That's when I learned my husband had been shot that day. So he went around and rounded all the children. Went to, my son was playing rugby. He went there, got my son. My daughter also came. So he took us all, he made sure that we all went there. So when I was there is when I learned that it's not that he had collapsed. He had been shot. So we were there in Nairobi Hospital for quite some times when he was being operated on. And even being there, actually, nobody came to prepare us that he had passed on. I only saw the late Honorable Odhiambo crying. Everybody coming out crying.
No! Oh! He was threatened on Thursday, he told me. He was threatened on Thursday.
As Dr. Mbai was in theater, I suggested to the wife, who I actually picked from home to bring her to the hospital, and told her the events of what had happened, I requested her to give me one of her relatives so that we could go to Lenana school and pick up her son, so that the son does not see at the 9 o'clock news that the father had been shot.
Mjumbe wa Kamkunji aliyekuwa mtu wa kwanza kufika nyumbani kwa Mbai kwa kuwa jirani wa karibu, alishughulika peke yake kumkimbiza Mbai aliyekuwa anavuja damu kwa wingi hadi hospitali ya Nairobi, kilomita 4.4. Akawapokeza wauguzi na akageuka upesi kurudi nyumbani kumchukua mkewe Bi Margaret na pia kumkimbiza hospitalini. Nyaga anadai hakumfahamu Mbai na jitihada zake zilikuwa tu za msamaria mwema.
It's very painstaking in one that God will give you the grace and the comfort of heart.
Kumbuka kwamba Odhiambo Mbai alikuwa jina kubwa kutokana na mchakato wa kuunda katiba mpya Bomas, hususan kamati tata ya ugatuzi aliyokuwa mwenyekiti wake, na wanasiasa walilenga macho yao Bomas.
You know, he was there because, you know, he was my neighbor. He was staying in house number 5, we were in house number 6. So I found him right there in his car. He's the one who took us to Nairobi Hospital, actually. We found him waiting at the gate.
When we got out, my former classmate, Shabir Shakir, told me that the man that had been shot was Dr. Mbai, who was the chairman of the devolution committee. And I can tell it to you, I had never been to Dr. Mbai's house. I had never seen him at close quarters. My closest I ever got to see him was on that day that he was shot.
My condolences to my very dear friends and neighbors. And we have lived with them for a very, very long time. I live next door. That wall goes into my house.
And I risked my life by walking into that house. How foolish would I have walked into a house of a man who has no relation with me other than being my neighbor for 5 years? A man I had no problems at all with.
So when we were brought home, that's when I learned that the Nunyaga also went for my younger brother and told them to clean the blood that was in the house. So later when we went to court, I was surprised because I tried all the media houses. Because that day when we came back, he said he's the one who ordered the watchman and my brother to clean the house. So when the hearing started, it was like he didn't know anything. So in fact, I became very emotional during that time because I said, this man said all these things in front of all the media houses. Now we can't get anything, even that day as he was talking.
And it was claimed that you ordered that that house be cleaned up just before the police arrived. Why
You can't give an order. You can only either request. It's not your house, you don't give an order. In fact, the person that washed the house was none other than a relative of Dr. Mbai himself that was living with them as I was sitting in Nairobi Hospital. So to me, it's whitewash. They were looking for areas to cling to try and frame.
Aliyekuwa mjumbe wa Kabondo Kasipul Peter Owidi alikuwa miongoni mwa waliozua madai bungeni dhidi ya Nyaga. Hoja ambazo alizipinga vikali na madai hayo hayakuchunguzwa mahakamani.
I told the late Dr. Owidi, who claimed that I'd been involved in this heinous murder, that if he dared repeat the same words outside the protection of the main chamber, I would sue him to the last coin. He never did. Nobody did.
When we followed the story, names began dropping. We followed where had these guys come from. The police themselves actually were giving the lead. You know, that these guys had met somewhere in Kawangware or wherever. They had been given a vehicle and they moved in and they came and parked somewhere in a distance before the guys, the assassins themselves, got out of the car and got into the compound and into Mbai's house. So clearly you could trace this to be a planned execution or assassination. But then after that initial information, there seemed to be no progress on the police establishing or finding the killers. So 3 guys had been arrested. They were in custody. They were being interrogated, and the police were using all the tactics to extract information from them. So I got onto the story. I was managing editor of the Sunday Standard, and we sent in guys to follow the story. But there was not much coming through. But I used my contacts and networks, having been in the field and knowing a bit of sources within the police force, and I got to the team that was investigating the murder. So they said, yes, we have these guys, we will forget them, but they are saying they were sent by a certain politician to do what they did. I said, really? And as we followed, the name of, who came up, I can say it, Norman Nyaga's name came up. We began finding out why would Nyaga be involved in it. And Nyaga, of course, said, no way, there's no way I can have been responsible for this. And he denied it.
Wakati wa mahojiano na makachero waliokuwa wanachunguza kuuawa kwa Mbai, mmoja wa washukiwa wa mauaji hayo, Collins Kilel, alidai kwamba Norman Nyaga ndiye aliyepanga njama hiyo, swala lililopinga vikali.
A gang of policemen sat together, organized witnesses, and coached them in what to say. 2 of those people that were coached what to say were people that worked for me before.
Why would anyone want to frame you on the death of your neighbor and then the chairman of the devolution committee in Bomas? Why would anyone want to frame you?
Very simple. I was a victim of circumstances.
That find out from the police. The gun that was used has nothing to do with the gun that belonged to Norman Nyaga. Find out from them. They'll be able to tell you. I have no idea.
Mjane Margaret Mbai pia anasimulia malalamishi aliyozua kuhusiana na matukio wakati wa mauaji ya mumewe, nyumbani na hospitalini pia, na iliyojiri mahakamani na basi kuyeyusha matumaini ya familia kupata haki. Hoja ambazo NTV haikumudu kuthibitisha.
When the hearing was starting, he said that when he came home, he found my husband was not wearing any shirt anyway. But all these things were taken in Nairobi Hospital, because even from Nairobi Hospital, we were never given what my husband was wearing. They said that because the clothes were all soaked in blood, they decided to throw them away. But later on, we came and found out that even the doctor that received my husband in Nairobi Hospital was known to these people. Because during the hearing, the doctor himself actually admitted that they were family friends with Honorable Nyaga. I saw a lot of, even the DPP used to come in, you could see they were hiding a lot of things. Because every time there would be emerging evidence, you would see the DPP coming himself to court.
John Chemweno, aliyekuwa inspekta wa polisi katika makao makuu ya upelelezi CID, idara ya kunasa picha, ndiye alikuwa ananakili video zote wakati wa mahojiano na washukiwa. Lakini alifutwa kazi wiki 2 baadaye baada ya chumba kimoja cha habari kupata nakala ya mahojiano ya washukiwa hao.
Tulikuwa timu kubwa. Timu ile tulikuwa pale ilikuwa ni timu ya various. Tulikuwa watu kutoka blind squad, kulikuwa watu from the special unit, kulikuwa na investigators from CID headquarters, na kulikuwa na intelligence officers ambayo tulikuwa pamoja wakati huo, because hii kesi ilikuwa ni kesi ambayo ilikuwa ni kali kabisa. Wakati nilikuwa nafanya video shooting, mimi baada ya kumaliza, commissioner of police by then ilikuwa ni late Nyasenda, Wilson Nyasenda. Nyasenda ndio alikuwa na vested interest sana, because this man was from Luo Nyanza, na alikuwa anataka kujua ni kitu gani ambaye ilikuwa nafanyika. So sasa wakasema ya kwamba any document ile mtapata, make sure ya kwamba hii kitu imeflow, isikatwe kabisa, na that is why walikuwa wamechukua services ya video recording, ndio walikuwa nataka ndio apate ukweli iko wapi. So ndio tukabanyia namna hiyo. So baada ya kumaliza, kwa vile walikuwa nataka kujua ni kitu gani ilikuwa na suspect ni nini ambayo ilikuwa na inaendelea, na vile wakubwa, unajua hii kesi ilikuwa na wakubwa. So mwenye alikuwa na mimi nikimaliza, mkubwa Mr. Nyasenda ndio alikuwa na anataka tape. So mimi nilikuwa naenda kwa ofisi, nina produce video na inapelekewa na Francis Okonya, former assistant DCP Francis Okonya ndio alikuwa anapelekea hiyo tape. Na we were in communication na Nyasenda kabisa all the time. Chochote tu nafikiri yeye anasikia, anasema Mr. Chemweno, nasikia kitu fulani imefanyika namna hii, make sure ya kwamba kila kitu is captured.
We followed. The story is that we got onto it. I got to meet the investigating officers. I went into hiding where they were hiding and doing the interrogation. I got a tape recording of the interrogation live. It looked like somebody was trying to move away from the line that somebody had masterminded this assassination, and it was just an ordinary crime by crooks who had come from Kawangware and wanted to steal, and they found this man in the house, so they shot him accidentally. And stole nothing. Now that was the problem. So there seemed to be an attempt to move away blame or to assign responsibility or liability to anybody, and the police investigation dragged down and slowed down. So even though they had found these guys, and these guys apparently confessed, in fact the story said assassins confessed.
Did that make you now get convinced that the killers of your husband were known and they were in plain sight?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Because these people said the truth, they said what was there. So for me, in fact, from that point is when I knew this case was not going to go anywhere. After they came, they published those things, and these people said the truth with all those documents. So we knew there were people up there that were involved.
Question: did you kill? Were you involved? Did you know in planning of the death or the killing of Crispin Odhiambo Mbai? Do you know anything?
The answer is categorical no.
Kuangamizwa kwa Odhiambo Mbai kulizidisha mgawanyiko ndani ya muungano tawala wa NARC. Rais Kibaki na kikosi chake upande mmoja, na mrengo wa Raila wa LDP upande mwingine, ambao tayari ulikuwa umechezewa shere kwa kukosa kukabidhiwa wadhifa wa waziri mkuu punde tu NARC ilipoingia mamlakani. Kitumbua kikaingia mchanga zaidi baada ya mgawanyiko kwa msingi wa kikabila kushika kasi, ikionekana kuwa kesi ambayo sasa ilikuwa ni malumbano ndani ya serikali ikawa ngumu haki kutekelezwa. Waziri wa usalama alikuwa Dkt Chris Murungaru kutoka ngome ya Kibaki, naye kamishna wa polisi alikuwa Edwin Nyaseda kutoka himaya ya Raila Odinga. Sawa na nyanja ya siasa, sekta ya usalama pia kukawa na mgawanyiko na fununu za kusambaratishwa kwa uchunguzi wa mauaji hayo zikanoga.
Statement at Bomas of Kenya to the effect that NAK was now going to play dirty. I think in light of what is happening, such people should be investigated by the police to explain exactly what they mean when they say they are going to play dirty. Because it is just a few days ago that such a statement was made.
My suspicion is that it looks like a planned assassination.
It looks like that because they went into his house at 3 in the afternoon, and Dr. Mbai was sitting downstairs in the lounge, and they just opened fire. They shot him 4 times, and then they ran away. So they didn't take anything away. It seems very much like an attempt at assassination.
Now I know what hard tackling is all about. We were told the other day that from now on it is hard tackling. And I want to ask Kenyans to know that those responsible will pay for it.
was shot 4 times on the thigh, in the abdomen, on the arm, and on the head. He was dropped here by a neighbor, Honorable Norman Nyaga. The doctors tried their best to save his life. He was bleeding profusely. He succumbed when they were performing an operation to remove a bullet which was lodged in his brain.
I don't know what is in devolution that could lead to anybody's concern. But those who have been threatening others during the last 1 week, I would call upon the police and all the government agencies responsible for investigation to do a thorough investigation.
Hii kesi ilikuwa moto na ilikuwa shita sana hata wakati ya kufanya investigations, kwa sababu ile watu ambao walikuwa wametachwa ilikuwa imeleta shita sana. Ilikuwa imetacha watu ambaye ilikuwa imebikia hata kumaliza maisha yetu. Hata maisha kama yangu ilikuwa hatari mpaka saa hii nikisimama namna hii. Mimi tu ni Mungu tu ndio amenilinda, si kitu, ni Mungu, kwa sababu mimi nilikuwa nimetafutwa sabari mingi sana severally.
Mjumbe wa Kamkunji alitajwa sana, afisi yake bunge ikidaiwa kuandaa mojawapo ya vikao vya njama hiyo. Kwa kuwa alikuwa mwenye mamlaka makubwa ya kiranja wa serikali, makachero walitaka kuzuru afisi yake majengo ya bunge, lakini wakapigwa breki.
The last day ndio mimi nilikuja kukundua kuna shita, ni kwamba on 27 which was on Friday tulikuwa naenda parliament kwenda mahali suspect walikuwa wametubeleka ya kwamba tuende tuangalie kupika parliament privileges huko. Ndio tukaelezwa ya kwamba nyinyi hatutaenda na kuingia kwa ofisi ile ambaye walikuwa wanataka, ikawa ni ngumu sana. So saa ile tulienda kupika pale, mambo ikawa ngumu. Wenzangu mwenye tulikuwa pamoja na boss Obeto mwenye walikuwa wanafanya interview ya hiyo watu, so tukaenda akaandika occurrence book kwa Parliament Police Station ya kwamba wakati tumepika huko tukaelezwa ya kwamba Parliament ni tisa different entity amali asisa tutabanya anything. Kwa hivyo tukaenda tukaona sachi na tamba itani sijui ilikuwa inaitwa nani. So akasema ya kwamba we mpaka yenu nyinyi hakuna kitu nyinyi mtachunguza, nyinyi mmemalisia hapo.
I was very close to the president. You remember the politics of the day at the time.
During that period of prosecution, he was jobless.
Wanahabari vigogo wa upekuzi David Makali na naibu wake kwa Mchesi Makoha wa jarida la The Standard waliangukia video ya mahojiano na washukiwa, walichapisha vivyo hivyo yalivyosemwa. Anwani ya makala ikisemekana aliyemuua Mbai wakiri. Habari zilizozua tumbo joto kote. Serikali ilichemka na kuwa kali kama pilipili, na ikamwendea Inspector John Chemweno aliyekuwa na nakili mahojiano hayo.
I mean, as soon as the paper came out, calls were ringing, everybody was looking for me, and they came and arrested all of us. They arrested Tom Shindi, the managing director. They arrested me as managing editor of the paper and the author of the story, and Mchesi Makoha, my deputy. So we were all locked up.
Information and material in the hands of the police was stolen, because that is what it amounts to. It was stolen by connivance between persons in the media and the persons in the police force. Crime was committed. The question of the veracity of the information is neither here nor there.
The fact is, the content of what I'd published was not disputable. It was accurate transcription and reporting of what had transpired in the interrogations. And what we meant to do was to bring this out to the public so they can determine whether, in fact, these investigations were true and will produce the truth, or there was a cover-up. And up to today, I believe there was a cover-up in the killing of Crispin Mbai.
Unajua hii watu walitaka kuchukua njia ya kufunika maneno, lakini hii mtu kuna mambo mbaya, kuna mambo ilitendeka kulingana na vile hiyo watu walitueleza. So sisi tulienda tu. Mimi nikaingizwa gari kwa sababu walikuwa wanasema sisi ni so many police officers ambaye wamestakiwa. Kupika kotini, mimi nilishangaa Mr. Kaemba kuelezwa ya kwamba we umestakiwa kwa kuiba a tape worth 250 shillings ambaye ni property ya serikali ya Kenya. Sasa hiyo tu ndio ilikuwa techache ambaye mimi nilistakiwa tu. Mimi hata mimi hiyo ilikuwa ni malicious, ni kuharibia mtu jina yake. Na mimi sikuiba. Na hakuna kitu ilipotea iko.
Why I was acquitted? I was tried before the chief magistrate at that time, Aggrey Muchelule. And after 1 year of going to court with that humiliation, Muchelule found that there was no basis and acquitted me with the rider that the police, what police hold in custody belongs to the public. The police don't own anything on their own. What they do is in the public service, and what they hold, the information they hold, is for the public. So a member of the public accessing that information cannot be charged with a criminal offense of theft. You can't steal your own.
So Mr. Chuma alituma watu walikuja mpaka hapa Jeptonge hii mahali mimi nalisimama saa hii. Tukule tulistakiwa na hao maaskari. First accused is now late. Naitwa Kariuki. Ananieleza wewe Chemwena, Mungu anakupenda. Tulikuwa nakumaliza. Tulikuwa tumekukutia sabari mbili, lakini Mungu akakulinda. So that is why unaona mimi niko namna hii.
He was jobless. And after the case ended, we were acquitted. I was acquitted. We were acquitted. But the police, under their standing orders, still found wrongdoing on his side. So they fired him. And even after, you know, some of these things we do in the struggle, you hope that when you have finally crossed the river and injustice has been established to have been committed, you will release all the people who are affected by that matter. So I expected that, you know, because after that, people realized that there was injustice committed in the case of the murder of Mbai, and John Chemweno, inspector, should have been reinstated at work. But that man was crucified and he has suffered because of an injustice which he tried to fix by being truthful.
Wachumbe wa Rift Valley wakati huo ikiongozwa na the president now, pamoja na Nick Salat, pamoja na mchumbe wetu ambaye alikuwa anaitwa David Sudi, ndio walilalamika kule bunge. Mpaka wachumbe 67 ya ODM wote walitoka nje wakafanya protest kabisa. Hata ukienda kufuatilia utaona ya kwamba more members walilalamika kwa nini mimi nilikuwa accused na wale wengine wako wapi, na mimi tu mimi kitu gani nilitenda ndio ikawara mpaka mimi nitulumiwe bure namna hiyo, na mimi sikuwa na kitu. So those people kabisa walikuwa wananitarao. Ukikuja kufuatilia the former minister of state ndio alikuwa anataka China hii inaitwa Chemweno, hata kusikia baka yake Chemweno China Chemweno baka yake ilikuwa moto. Murungaru ilikuwa mbaya sana.
Kila kitu imefungwa, kila kitu yake hakupewa chochote, lakini akachikalia tu nyumbani. Tuliteseka sana mpaka yeye akashikwa na ugonjwa askari. Hata kulima kwake saa kulima shamba halali usiku, anasikia uchungu kila mahali.
But I say anyway, still pray that all is not lost. We had seen all those documents, how those people were accepted. All the police officers who investigated, they were all interdicted. Most of them lost his job. In fact, there's one that comes from Kitale. Also, every September, he must call us. He actually lost his job himself. Others were eventually taken back. But new people are the ones who now came to take up the case.
In fact, that has been my disappointment with what I would call the human rights, the progressive democracy political forces that have had the opportunity to reinstate and compensate him and restitute him for the loss. Because John Chemweno has gone through quite a bit. His family has suffered. In fact, as late as last year, he would call me to ask me to help him with one or two things. Financially, he's been crippled because he was sent home and he's in Marakwet. And I think if justice is to be done, Chimeno has to be compensated. Maybe he has reached retirement age, but if he hasn't, he could be reinstated. And if he cannot be reinstated, compensation is good enough. Because again, in fact, I remember talking to one IG. I don't know whether it was Ali or no, Kimayo. When Kimayo was IG, I asked him why he cannot reinstate Chemweno. Because what he did was in the public interest. He actually performed the work and the duty of a good citizen by putting out there what the public required to know and to address an injustice. So I think it's not too late. I mean, Chemweno should be compensated.
I really don't care what people who want to think in one direction will continue to think. Some of those that were involved in saying I was involved are dead. One of them is Nyaseda himself.
Kamishna wa polisi wakati huo Edwin Nyaseda alifutwa kazi na Rais Kibaki mwezi Aprili mwaka 2004 baada ya kuhudumu kwa miezi 14 pekee afisini na kumfanya mkuu wa polisi aliyehudumu kipindi kifupi zaidi nchini. Na kana kwamba ni mbinu ya kupumbaza umma, Rais Kibaki alimteua mwanajeshi Brigedia Mohamed Hussein Ali kuongoza idara ya polisi na kumuongeza madaraka akawa Meja Generali.
A friend of mine called Lee Kanyari was in Uganda. He called me and told me, let me not mention the personality of this person who was working with the media and is still working with the media, had given this thing to be dubbed. And the person who was given the material to dub called my friend Lee Kanyari and told me. I then called Brigadier Boyneta, who then was still in charge of national intelligence, and raided the offices in Continental House where prominent personalities today in government, one senator, one very big man, were watching it.
Ni miaka 23 baada ya mauaji ya Dkt Crispin Odhiambo Mbai, anayeenziwa kama kafara wa ugatuzi. Cha kutamausha ni kwamba familia yake inalia kuwa inapitia hali ngumu ya maisha kila uchao na haina chochote cha kufurahia licha ya yeye kulipa gharama chungu na kumwaga damu ya ugatuzi.
It's not been easy. It's been difficult bringing up children alone. What has been really hard for me is that after trying all I could and educating all these children, they still don't have jobs. Yet they are all graduates. Except for my daughter now, who is teaching part-time at Strathmore University. The rest is not working. It has taken me now to go back to educate my grandchildren. So it's not been easy. Towards that, because I retired when I attained 50 years in 2011, I chose to retire from the civil service because I didn't want to go back to Nairobi after 7 years and, leave home again. So that has been my headache.
And today I really want to make an appeal to the Council of Governors, because Mbai left a young family, young wife and children. And if the Council of Governors can see it fit that you get a kind of a fund, a small fund, you can just put in 5,000 shillings a month, that will go a long way to help the family of Dkt Mbai. It's an appeal.
For me, every time they talk about Daktari, I know he had worked very hard. And for me, I would have loved to see, when they keep on mentioning his name, that lives of Kenyans have changed. And personally, where I sit, so much has happened, personally I haven't felt it, to be honest. Me, myself, as Odhiambo's wife, honestly, I haven't felt it anyway.
Do you feel like he sacrificed the price he paid was in vain?
I've always said it. Personally, I've always said it. I've always said, I've always reminded some people when I meet them that I hope the death of my husband would not be in vain. I would have been happy sitting here saying, although my husband died, but lives of most Kenyans have changed. It would have been my joy, because I know people who sacrifice. It's not that you at the end of the day you will benefit. Even if as family we have not benefited, but if the lives of Kenyans and the majority of people staying around me, if their life had changed, then I would say thank God. Yes.
Crispin Mbai is the martyr of our devolution. That chapter in the Constitution, whatever became of it or whatever his death brought onto that chapter ought to be immortalized. I don't know how, but every time we talk about devolution, we always remember that the genesis of devolution and the killing of Dr. Mbai, maybe it helped to bring attention to it and to focus it more, the country more on it. And so we'll always remember him.
Inspekta wa polisi John Chemweno anayesema anahangaika na maisha alikuwa amehudumu miaka 22 pekee idara ya polisi na alitimuliwa akiwa amebakisha miaka 18 kabla kustaafu. Chemweno anasema amebisha kila afisi kutafuta haki, lakini ameambulia pakavu.
Nilienda kwa ombudsman, nikaenda kwa commission, nilienda kwa aiboa, wote everybody sasa walisema tu wewe sisi hatuna kitu ya kuchifu. Mahali walituma hiyo kesi, wakasema ya kwamba polisi walimaliza na kesi yangu. So imagine unastakiwa kwa kotini, alafu kotini, saa ile kotini wameona ya kwamba wewe una makosa, unatolewa. Ukipika kwa saa ile umerejeshwa kazi, wanakueleza sio kosa, kwa nini usitolewe kwa kazini. Mimi nikaandika hiyo yote, lakini hakuna kitu. Walisema ya kwamba wewe uitachiki tena kwa mambo ya public interest, na hakuna kesi. Unajua kesi ambayo inatupwa kotini hakuna kurudia tena. So walienda wakasema ya kwamba ndio nimeeleza wewe ya kwamba mwenye alikuwa in charge kwa administration kwa police ambaye alikuwa anaitwa Mr. Gatoko, that was the man ambaye alikuwa brutal on me kabisa. Ndio aka make sure ya kwamba akaeleza wao, this man must go, and Kapila, the late Kapila. Na wakati walipeana hiyo recommendation yao kwa former commissioner of police Ali wakati alikuja chua ya kwamba yeye alikuwa ni mtu ya military. Sasa Ali ndio akasema ya kwamba Ali hakuwa anataka mtu yeyote ambaye iko na kesi. Hakuwa anataka kesi. Akasema ya kwamba toa tu, kazi yake ni toa. So ndio mimi nikatolewa. Hakuna mahali mimi nimefanya appeal hiyo yote I
would love the case to be reopened. I would want justice done. And once we know the truth, it will set us free.
They should kneel down and pray to the Maker. Please reveal to us what happened to our father, what happened to our dear husband. I have nothing against them because they had nothing against me. I was not involved in the death of Mbai, and therefore I know nothing. My prayer today, as I speak to you, I hope the guilty ones will not go scot-free.
For me, what I would like to tell him, first of all, I've kept on praying. And I also want to continue praying for him, that if he knew anything, it will set him free to say the truth. So that even him, when the time ends, we will not say he's gone down there with having known some truth.
Kwenye mapendekezo ya ripoti yake, Tume ya Ukweli, Haki na Maridhiano TJRC mwaka 2013 ilipendekeza kuwa rais aweke wazi ripoti ya uchunguzi wa mauaji ya kisiasa ndani ya kipindi cha miezi 6 baada ya kupokea ripoti hiyo, na mkurugenzi wa mashtaka ya umma kufanya uchunguzi zaidi kuhusiana na mauaji ya JM Kariuki, Robert Ouko, Crispin Odhiambo Mbai na kasisi Anthony Kaiser kwa kipindi cha miezi 18. Ripoti hiyo haijawahi tekelezwa. Marehemu Dkt Crispin Odhiambo Mbai ndiye aliyekuwa mwenyekiti wa kamati iliyohusika na masuala ya kushinikiza ugatuzi nchini, na miaka 23 baada ya kuuawa kwake hadi sasa wahusika hawajaweza kukamatwa na haki kutendeka, na sasa familia inalilia haki. Duncan Haemba, NTV kutoka kijiji cha Masakla, jimbo la Homa Bay.